Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Big Talk series under Afrotape. I'm your host and my name is Sharon, and today I am excited to say that I am joined by Sibor Madako, I dare say, Nerea Oketch. Nerea Oketch is the standing winner of Miss President and the nominated MCA of HomaBay. Nerea, tusalimie. I am so excited to have you here. I can't contain myself.
Sharon, I'm glad you could have me. It's always an honor. It's always a pleasure to speak to everybody who has that ear to listen. And I think that is what Miss President is all about. People have to listen to me, have to hear me, and most importantly, have to really get an idea of what it feels like to be that model president and what we have to look forward to. So it's exciting. I'm actually probably more excited that you had me here. So
All right. Before we proceed, I just want to thank you on behalf of all women for freeing women. And I say this because anytime a woman decides to follow their dreams, you show another woman that you can also do it. So I want to thank you for that. So the conversation we're having today is going to be coined around women, young women who want it all, and especially millennials. We want to have a stable job, we want to have careers, we want to have a stable family, and we also want to balance that out with our social lives. Is it possible?
it's quite possible. I don't believe ever in my life that anything is undoable. The only thing you have to do is to be a quote unquote lightweight. So if you're needed here today, you have to be willing to run. If you have a baby, because we are all women and at some point we're going to have children, you need to be flexible even when you're pregnant, even when you have a baby. So if you need to run to Nairobi, you need to run to Kericho, wherever it is you need to go. All factors allowing, you need to be able to go there, you need to be able to get there, and have that the right mind frame. I think it's sometimes we lock our minds to opportunities. I don't lock my mind to anything that I believe I can do as a person, because I look at myself first as a person before I look at myself as a woman. That's the only reason why I push my boundaries and I test myself and I really look at, can I get this done? Do I have the hunger? And I think young people now need to realize that you have to create your own space. I have daughters. They are creating their own space. My firstborn daughter is 24. She's graduating, but she already has been working for the last 3 years, and now she has a job already, and she's making it as an independent person. So sometimes you don't have to look at who do I know, who knows my mother, who my mother is, who knows my dad, and what can I unlock from them. Be your own person, because then you can chart your own path and do really well, because I think the young people need to know that they can do really well. It doesn't matter where you start from.
So even as a woman, I'm showing up every day, I'm doing the best I can. There is a valid fear that I want to address that's amongst us unmarried young women. Who will take care of my husband and my children when I'm away, given the sponsor issue that we have right now, and the fact that it is hard to have a stable home, especially for us millennials in this age? How can you balance everything out?
It's important to, first of all, know that you are settling down with the right person who understands your ambitions as a woman, because we are all ambitious to have families.
So, okay,
Yes.
before you continue,
Yeah.
it is so interesting, and this is now why I said I had to interview you.
Yeah.
At some point, you are a stay-at-home mom,
Yes, I was for almost 6 years.
and then now
Yeah.
you're in the public eye with
Yes.
a background in finance.
Yes.
Talk to me about that.
I found myself in the house. It happened, it was a very simple thing. 1 month I was a 17-year-old girl clearing high school, and the following month I had, rebelled enough to, get into a relationship and get pregnant. It happened so fast. And 3 months down the line, I found myself packing my bags and getting married. it looked simple, it was a non-issue to me. But it was a big deal to my parents, it was a big deal to my colleagues, it was a big deal to everybody but myself. Only after I had settled in and tasted that difficult life of, having the responsibility of a mother and a wife, because by the time I was 21, I had 3 children. And so I was, there was one in nappies, there was one wanting to go to nursery, they were always crying, and I was 21. And I'm like, okay, when did all this happen? So something must have happened, because I knew I would just wake up and get through the day and go to sleep at night. But every time I looked around me, I was like, children crying and neighbors looking at me funny because I looked at the house help. I was really looking like the house help because I was so small. Even my body size, you should see a picture of me and my 4 children. Oh my God, I was 25, but I looked so tiny. So everybody thought it was difficult to do, but I was doing it. So for some reason, I had the energy, I had the drive, because I could, I bounced back very fast after having the kids. So for me, I was like, these are my children, that is my husband, this is my house. I have to keep it all together. But everybody looking, in from the outside, felt the weight of what I was going through. And I really, after about 4 or 5 years, I started feeling the weight, because I looked at my children and I thought, oh my God, these are human beings. And so being a naive girl ended, because I realized that they need to have a future. And there's absolutely no way they'll have a good future if I don't take part in securing it. And that's how I started, agitating for me to get out of the house and go to work.
All right. Did you have someone supporting you at the time? Was your husband, was there dual income at the time before you decided to?
It was single income. I mean, I was a stay-at-home wife, and the good thing is I remember very well, my husband was a very good provider. And so on the bedside, there was this drawer that every morning he would simply check and see if there's money, and put in more. And every month I would do my budget. So I was even still a leader. I was managing the household. So every month I had my shopping, I had my list, and I would have to, plan the way the meals are, plan the children. Then I started having this conversation of, what? I used to be I was an average student in school. So I think it's probably time to think of something else, to do, other than, stay at home. So that conversation was not very easy. It became very difficult. And my father, at some point, had to come in because, having eloped, I had to disappear for a while. From my father's view, my father was a strict disciplinarian. There was no room to joke around. And that's why I think when I rebelled, because I'm very much my father's daughter. And so when we disagreed, it was very explosive. And so I had to take time off to cool. And I also had my pride, if he was that mad, if I was beaten up for doing this, then I'm going to disappear. Then I realized, oh my God, I need my father because somebody has to speak to this man on my behalf. So I need a higher authority. And that's what happens with women all over the world. If you're in trouble, run to your father because he knows and your man will respect him. He speaks and your man will say, oh my God, my father-in-law has spoken. So that's what I did. I ran to daddy.
Okay. So there's something important that you said, that your husband was a good provider. So many women sit back and say, okay, we'll just get by what he's providing. So, but you wanted your children to know, in one interview you said, you wanted your children to know the importance of being an independent person. Talk to me about that.
I really was analyzing my children's future. Yeah, it happens to every woman. When you have children, or even when you're a caregiver for a child, you can sit down and draw a picture of what their future would look like. And when I sat down, I realized that if I don't do something about it, it will definitely not be the way I have pictured it myself. And that's what got me going. And I want young women in Kenya and all over the world to realize that being independent is important because it gives you that firm footing. It also builds you up because, you know, when you get into marriage as young as I did, of course you come in when you're emotionally weak. Even when, you know, making decisions is still a challenge for you, you tend to be a follower. But when I was growing up, I was the leader. And so that independent mind got lost somewhere. And I realized I have to bring it back. And so I had to start explaining to my husband that, you know, in school, I used to always be the monitor of the class. I used to always do this. Because I want that back. I want that sense of independence. I want that voice to come back. And not to say that being a stay-at-home mom is not the best. I mean, I tell you that I brought up my kids really well. It was easy for me. They never had, you know, even 2 days in hospital because I was always there. You know, they were clean, they were well fed. But I also realized that you can still have a complete package when you do agree. And right now, as we speak, he's actually more at home than I am. Yes, so we co-parent very well within the home.
Which is why you said it's important to get the right partner who understands you and who is versatile enough to let you be who you are growing into.
And who will understand that if you want something, you will go for it despite, you know, them protesting, because I can tell you, it's not all smooth sailing. It wasn't smooth sailing for me. I mean, there was a lot of, you know, denials. There was a lot of no, you can't do that. You know, this is not right. But as long as you have a conviction that what you're doing is right and it's taking you to the right place, then you should be willing to go through a lot of those challenges in opening up. You know, just like when you want to have a good harvest and you have virgin land, you have to go through a lot of thorns and bushes. And that's what life is. I had to go through my own thorns and bushes to open up. And at some point, when you're doing good and you still maintain your family, he will realize, okay, maybe this woman has something good coming. Yes, I need to be able to allow more space and more room for her to, you know, venture out. And I think it's for the good of the family. What women need to realize is, if you have a family, then you need to hold your family. And that is the only way that the man will be confident in you even being out of the home, chasing all these dreams of yours. Yeah.
That is very wonderful. That is very wonderful. You're telling me exactly what I want. This is Life Manual 101 for the women. So there's something else you've mentioned. Women sometimes lose themselves at some point. You're a leader. You used to do ABC before you met your boyfriend, and then now you're in a home where you're being provided for, and then you stop going to work. You lose yourself at some point, but you lost yourself, you found yourself again, and now you're expressing the way you should, and you're continuing to grow. What keeps you grounded? What brought you back from sleep?
Very, very, very much. I have a daughter, my firstborn daughter. She's called Meryl Adhiambo. She's one of the strongest young women.
You talk about her a
young
lot.
women I know.
Yes.
And my second born is called Judy. Judy is she's a design student. You know, she just came that way. You know, Judy could dismantle a toy phone and put it back together by the time she was 10 years. She's really good at conceptualizing things. She's quiet in her own way, but very thorough at, you know, making things with her own. She's very good at, you know, designing things and drawing things. And now she's learning to draw houses and buildings. She's really that good. And my third born girl is, she's called Jeanine. She's just the loveliest person. And so she knows how to care for people and will go that extra mile to make sure everybody feels accommodated, everybody feels comfortable. And then my son is me, you know. He's hard-headed. He's just crazy. He will challenge you. He will stand up to a teacher and say, you know, I believe in this. And my mother said, if I believe this, I have to stand for it. You cannot beat me. So those are the kind of children that I have raised, and they've become young adults. All those experiences, you know, keep me focused on where do I want to go? What kind of mother do I want to be that their friends will talk about and their friends will admire? So it has kept me focused on a lot of my goals. But at some point, being in politics, and sometimes you realize that you have to push boundaries. You have to be more or even overly expressive. And I can be overly expressive. But when that happens, and there's a video out there, I have to very quickly go to the family WhatsApp group and say, hey guys, this video is coming out. Then they will, yes, it's coming out, be prepared. And it happened because you can see me in the video. So I don't deny. I don't say I was misquoted. Because it's important also for them to see that you can be a different person from mommy. Yes. And they understand that mommy is a different person from, the politician.
All right. So I want to ask you another question. As a woman who is pursuing what she wants and what she feels is right, who do you have to ask permission from? Because many women, if they're about to start a business or go into the political space, many people say, no, you can't do that because of ABC. Is permission important? And if it's important, from who exactly?
I actually don't call it permission. I call it input. Yes. Because at the point at which for example, when I wanted to move from my very nice job, and it was stressful, but money was not part of the stress. Move from there to become an MCA. I knew that my family would not be happy. Absolutely. Because they would look at the bottom line and how we are comfortable now, and then we are going to have to share a lot of our money with the community. And so I made that decision. I went to my mother after I already made and said, you know what, this is probably coming. What do you feel about it? So that I make sure that she's okay. Then I went to my family and said, you know what, this has already happened. But my husband said one thing that, I've always known that's where you're headed. So for me, it's not a surprise. Yes, you don't need my permission. You don't need anything. I'm not saying no, because I've always known that is where you're headed. I think that's the level of comfort that you have to create for yourself. But it just doesn't come. No, it doesn't come. Not with any man in this world, not with any woman in this world. You have to create that, so that when something lands, it's expected. I think with us leaders, everything is expected. It all follows each other. And I think when you need to get permission, it almost feels like you're always doing the wrong thing. And I think that's what I want to say. It's never that you're always doing the wrong thing. Yes, and I think some partners or some spouses out there make it look like their leader spouse is always making wrong decisions, does not know what to do. And that's what constrains a lot of women. Many of our women don't want to get into the political space because their spouses say no. Women who get into politics always do this. So the stereotypes will most likely keep a lot of women who are very good leaders. And as Miss President, I'm actually working towards bringing out those women who are even afraid to challenge themselves to come out into the political space. Yes.
All right. Thank you so much. This is so brilliant. So I have another concern on behalf of women my age: toxic masculinity in the public eye, and even in the workplace where you are nominated right now. Have you experienced it? And if you haven't, are you expecting it? And how would you deal with it if it happens eventually?
The one thing that I tell people from my own experience, I grew up with 5 brothers, and I learned to carve my niche right from there. Because when we put it in our heads that men can be toxic and can never let you move an inch to succeed, then you will never succeed. And so the one thing that you have as a skill and as a woman is how to maneuver your way around masculinity. We do it all the time with our husbands. We never fail to get what we want in the home. Every Kenyan woman or every woman all over the world always enter. Whether you want that car, you want the new dress, you will always. It might take you 6 months, but you will eventually have what you want. And so that is a skill that we have to come with in politics. Look at me. I was a woman and I was a nominated member of the county assembly. Actually, I was elected by the ODM party to serve in that assembly. And so that means that I didn't come through the ballot. But when I sit in that assembly, I'm able to convince my male colleagues, and because we have 38 elected male colleagues and only 2 elected women, it means that they outnumber us in terms of election by the ballot. But that means that I was able to sit with them, negotiate, and actually let them know what my skills are, what I can do. And they actually elected me as a chairperson first of the trade committee in the assembly. And then, of course, again as a chairperson of Public Accounts and Investments Committee. And that's what we do as women. Some people say that we are good at seducing our way to positions, but I still say it that we understand masculinity. And that means we do not touch the ego. I think for me, that's what I do. I don't say they're toxic, but everything that I do, I make sure I do not touch the male ego, because every male, whether he's serving in a lower position, and I've supervised men before, the only thing I address is the output of the work and never the ego. You will get what you want. Yeah.
Brilliant. So the last thing I want to ask you is about your image. You are a beautiful African woman. Your hair is shaved and you have a very confident demeanor. Talk to me about that. And how does it affect your political leadership, or how your overview as a woman?
I mean, the one thing that women all over the world and men must know is I have always been like this. I can show you a photo when I was 17 and I still had my hair, short. I still had my look without so much makeup. I still had my femininity in all its glory. I never hide it, and I think that's the one thing that makes me confident, because you don't have to, you don't have to hide yourself. Be yourself always. It will attract both positive and negative attention, because people will always be looking like, okay, what is she wearing? Does it show, too much bum? Does it show, too much leg? And so the one thing that I like doing most of the time is, if I'm showing leg, then I don't show, the bum. Exactly. So you have to also know how to balance, and then the decency of it all. As a woman, you also have to, remember that you have an image out there. People look at you and say, okay, if she dresses like this, what is she trying to show? Because people will always, people always talk about it. Yes. So don't be afraid of who you are as a woman, because God has made everybody in his own image. I am like this, I'm not going to change it. So all I need to know is embrace it and carry it well. Carry it with dignity and use my femininity with dignity. And then glorify my household, make sure my brothers are not embarrassed, because I have 5 brothers. So, their friends need not be having, very negative comments about how I carry myself, how I interact with people, how I dress.
Okay, so how do you balance being feminine and bringing out your strong personality every now and then when you need the business done?
I can tell you, when things become chaotic and I'm needed to run and jump in front of a table, most times I'll be in my trouser and jumping on top of that table. If my voice needs to be heard, and it can only be heard when I'm up there. When it calls for the diplomacy, and from the Miss President Academy, I've picked up quite a lot and I learned a lot. And I can tell you, there are going to be very few shouting matches with Miss President. I mean, I'm sure everyone has seen all the videos out there. It's also about growth. So my path to growth means that I have to exercise a lot more diplomacy and show people that you can achieve a lot as a woman, even without shouting yourself hoarse. And so I think better times are coming. Yes, I want to be an all-round person. I don't feel that there is always need to balance everything, because then you'll put more weight on either being feminine or being that person who can be able to go out and fight. I think I want to exercise a lot more of my thinking mind. I want to bring people together around me who can be able to portray that same image without me speaking. They can even speak for me. Yeah.
Right. Thank you so much, Nerea, for your time. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Keep it big talk. I was your host,
Yeah.
and my name is Sharon. If you care to be found online, where can people find you?
The good thing is even my own personal Facebook page is still Nereah Amondi Oketch, to have my photo, so you'll be sure it's me. You can also find me on Twitter at Amondi Nerea. I'm online a lot now, but I still have work in progress in improving that presence. And now that I've settled the baby, I'm only looking forward to doing better things. Yes, I think winning Miss President also came with its challenges. I've taken all that in stride, and I'm now the team is now well together on our way, because I think the 3-month period is a lot of adjustment. Yeah,
All right.
things are looking good, Sharon, and thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for making time. And like I said as we were starting, thank you so much for freeing women. Take heed to everything that she has said. Keep it big talk. Till next time, I was your host, Karibuni Sana.